And as for the meaning of life, so in part, I think that the point of life is to find.
But when you were talking a while back, maybe 30, 40 minutes ago, about us not knowing how are we able to say something's more advanced than not, I think that's a valid point. However, I think like everything else, there might be a line there. As an example, if we figured out that another civilization quite literally had the ability to time travel and completely ignore the laws of gravity as just two things of the many things they can do, I would be perfectly willing to subjectively and, more importantly, objectively say they're more advanced than us. Do you think that that's at least fair to say?
I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't?
No.
So how could a society that can quite literally bend time not be more advanced than us?
It depends on what you mean by advanced. So mathematically speaking, if you have a line, you have 0, like you mentioned before, you had 100, like you mentioned before, you could have negative 100. There you have an ordering. So you could say this point is greater than this point. But as soon as you have at least 2 axes, like this table, or 3, like this room, you can't say one point is more advanced than another. So I don't know how to mathematically say that.
All right, fair enough. I'll accept that. So you talked about early on the man's search for meaning, if you will. But what's your meaning of life? And on a second point, do you believe in a higher creator, or is it one where you're more like, I just don't know?
No, I'd say I'm searching for the latter question, and I don't dismiss it. I haven't heard an argument from an atheist that wasn't something I thought of when I was 14. So all these years later, I haven't heard a single argument from Sam Harris, from Christopher Hitchens, from Richard Dawkins, any of the modern atheists on YouTube, that they've said something that's made me go, that's an interesting way of looking at the world. And I think what separates a thinker is the willingness to wrestle with ill-defined notions. So that's what separates the continental philosophers from the more analytic philosophers, is that they're willing to, what do you mean by love? And they're willing to wrestle with it, even for decades, and dance around the subject and attack it from several angles. So for me, I'm not going to dismiss God because of the arguments that a clever me that I cited to other people when I was 15, 13. I became an atheist when I was 8. And I remember telling people about it because of quantum fluctuations. That was my reason.
At 8?
Yeah.
Quantum fluctuations?
I didn't know what it meant. Oh. I just heard my brother say it. And then the lady...
I didn't know how to say that word when I was 8.
Someone then said, flatulence, doesn't that mean? I'm like, oh my gosh. Then I never said that word until I was like 18. Never said that word again. So I was like, okay, I got to come up with different reasons. But I always loved, when I was younger, just showing you're an idiot. Because I was a smart aleck kid. So I had this girl that I liked who was a Muslim, and I would always just eviscerate, or I thought I was eviscerating her. I mean, whatever. I liked to do that because I'm mean and I'm vicious, at least back then.
You're a monster. You're going to be a monster, goddammit.
So I'm no longer like that. And as for the meaning of life, so in part, I think that the point of life is to find a love that is so great that it can outlast death, and then to nourish it. So with my wife, I don't know what that means. If you were to ask me, what does that mean? I don't know. So going back to this room analogy where we're constantly searching, going out at different doors and so on, but there are people in the room with you. And Lovecraft is saying, what are you doing? Why are you searching? Why are you trading? What's right here is so consequential. It's so meaningful. If you could nourish it, if you could water it, if you could notice it. I think our consciousness comprises attention, effort, and then the ineffable. So the attention is what we place our attention on. What do we care about? And the effort has to do with free will. And the ineffable, I don't know. That's just beyond me. But Shakespeare had this great quote, man. Like, Shakespeare said this in a letter to someone. He wasn't even publishing this. It's about trading the inestimable, so what you can't even estimate is so grand, for the ephemeral. So you go through that door, I want knowledge, but you can get right over that door. You walk out and a train just hits you. That's the Lovecraftian view.
The burden of what will be unburdened by what has been.
Oh gosh, that's so cringy. That's so, when I saw that, and she's trying to say it anew each time. Oh boy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had to put that in there. I cut you off. Go ahead.
Shakespeare said, "What win I if I gain the thing I seek? A dream, a breath, a froth of fleeting joy? Who would buy a minute's mirth to wail a week, or sell eternity for a toy? For one sweet grape, who will the vine destroy?" I think about that for. I've had that in the back of my mind for 6 years. What win I if I gain the thing I seek? A dream, a breath, a froth of fleeting joy. Jeez Louise, man.
It's heavy as shit, man. Curt, this kind of sucks that you got to leave. This is a prime example of, like, we're just getting warmed up. We would absolutely be sitting here for probably another 5-6 hours. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna have to do this again at some point. I love how you think. I love how you're very measured in what you think, and I also want to push back on something that I think you criticize about yourself a little bit, which is your willingness to say, "I don't know." I think that's a beautiful skill, and I think if you truly don't know something, you know, people with half a brain are going to respect you when you're willing to say that, because I think we run into a lot of problems in this world where people talk out of their ass on things that they really probably shouldn't be talking about. So I appreciate that about you. You are clearly a very brilliant guy. You got an amazing show on YouTube, and we will have that link down in the description once again. But thank you so much for coming down, man, and we're going to have to do this again.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. You as well. I love your podcast.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
I got to tell you off air then about Kaku.
Okay. All right. Well, TBD. We'll leave you in suspense. Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.